Stop looking at where you are for a moment, not your bank balance, not your job title. Look instead at where you are playing from, because money does not reward kindness, it does not reward effort, and it certainly does not reward morality. Money rewards the level of consciousness from which you operate. That is the part no one says out loud, and yet it decides almost everything. You already feel it, that quiet irritation, the sense that you give more than you receive, that something in the game feels rigged but you can't quite name how. You didn't click this because you're lazy. You clicked because you sense a glitch in the matrix, because somewhere along the way, the promise broke. You did what you were told, you worked, you behaved. And still, the outcome feels smaller than the input. Forget social classes, forget income brackets, forget left and right, rich and poor. What I'm about to show you are psychological operating systems, 6 silent strata that determine your economic destiny, an invisible hierarchy where the obedient survive and the astute ascend. But before we climb even one step, we must go down, into the basement, into the part of the structure no financial guru wants to show you. Centuries ago, Machiavelli understood this. Power does not operate on fairness, it operates on human nature, on fear, on desire, on dependence. Ignore this, and you can memorize every rule, every strategy, every level, and still live like a subject, repeating formulas, never wearing the crown. The most dangerous illusion of the modern man is the belief in a just world, the idea that if you do the right things, in the right order, with enough effort, the system will eventually reward you. That belief is not innocent, it is functional, it produces compliance. A man who believes effort equals reward is easy to manage. He works harder, he complains less, he accepts his position as fate. Machiavelli warned that those who design systems prefer citizens who confuse virtue with power because they are predictable, and predictable men are controllable men. Money is not a tool, it is a language, a silent dialect spoken fluently by a few, while the majority stutters, wondering why they are never heard. And like any language, it responds not to intention, but to structure, to fluency, to command. Money does not move toward the good, the prepared, or the deserving. It moves toward those who know how to direct it, attract it, manipulate it, and bend it to their will. That truth is uncomfortable, because it strips away the moral cushion we were taught to sit on. Look at history, not through myth, but through pattern. Before the railroads made Cornelius Vanderbilt a caricature of wealth, he was a ferry operator in New York Harbor. Not the strongest, not the most educated, but he understood leverage, while others fought on price or complained about regulation. He cut routes, broke alliances, and forced competitors into submission by controlling access. He wasn't good, he was positioned, and money followed position. The 6 levels of money do not define your worth as a human being, they define your relationship with power. Each level does not make you better, it makes you freer, less dependent. And independence is the one thing every system fears, because a man who does not depend does not obey, and a man who does not obey cannot be ruled. Most people never leave the first level, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack vision. Before we name it, understand this. Money reflects where you operate psychologically, not how much you have, but how you relate to it. There are people with almost nothing, who move with discipline, foresight, and restraint, and rise. And there are people with millions, who move with fragility, impulse, and ego, and collapse. Level 1 is survival. Here, there is no strategy, no long-term thinking, no real planning, only urgency. Neurologically, this level is dominated by the amygdala, the brain's fear center. Decisions are made under cortisol, under pressure, under the constant sense that everything could fall apart at any moment. Money does not serve you here, it commands you. I've seen this brutally in the US tech boom. Engineers earning 6 figures in San Jose, living paycheck to paycheck, terrified of a single layoff. Meanwhile, a small business owner in rural Texas, earning half that, completely calm, because his costs were controlled and his mind was steady. Survival is not about income, it is about dependence. The trap is subtle. You think you have escaped survival because you pay rent, eat out, maybe take a vacation. But if you still depend entirely on the next paycheck, you are still there. If one interruption would collapse your life, you are still there. The question is simple and merciless. Do you make decisions from vision or from fear? Do you direct money with intention or react to chaos month by month? If the answer is fear, feel no shame. Most of the world lives here. What matters is that you are listening, with the will to exit. And here is the first hard truth. To leave survival, you do not need more money. You need a different mind. You must break the association between money and fear, between work and obligation, between income and safety. Because when urgency dominates, every move is defensive. And from defense, you can resist, but you can never build power. Machiavelli wrote, "He who negotiates from necessity loses before the discussion begins." This applies to money with surgical precision. No one is coming to rescue you. No company will adjust your income out of pity. No system will bend because you waited patiently. The world moves for those who seize control of themselves first. Either you dominate your relationship with money, or money dominates you. There is no third option. You are not here to be a vassal. You are here to learn how to move like a prince who understands the board. Now that you've stared survival in the face, the question is not whether you want to leave it. The question is whether you are ready to let go of the identity that kept you there. Before we move forward, pause for a moment. If this touched something real for you, comment one word that describes your current state with money. Just one word. And if you want to keep ascending with us, subscribe and join a growing community of men who refuse to live as subjects and choose instead to think, move, and build like strategists. Level 2, stability, emotional regulation, and the seduction of comfort. Now we move into the second level. This is where many people relax too early and quietly lose the game. Level 2 does not begin when you get rich. It does not begin when you upgrade your lifestyle. It begins the moment you break the psychological state of survival. When fear loosens its grip on your daily decisions. When you can breathe without feeling hunted by the calendar. When time stops feeling like a predator. Most people misunderstand this level. They believe stability means a steady paycheck, predictable routines, bills paid on time, and a small cushion at the end of the month. But that is not awakening. That is sedation. It numbs the pain without curing the disease. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. He warned that the greatest danger to a man seeking power is not suffering, but comfort disguised as safety. The true shift into stability happens when you stop seeing money as a threat you must constantly dodge and start seeing it as a system that can be understood, anticipated, and shaped. Survival is reactive. Stability is predictive. In survival, you respond to whatever hits you. In stability, you begin to read patterns, cycles, probabilities, cause and effect. You realize money does not arrive randomly. It obeys rules, and rules can be learned. This is the first time many men experience mental quiet. The noise fades, the urgency dissolves, and for the first time, you can actually observe yourself. That is why this level is so important and so dangerous, because clarity reveals truth, and truth is uncomfortable. I've seen this clearly in mid-level managers inside the US corporate system. People earning enough to feel safe, mortgage covered, health insurance secured, retirement accounts slowly growing. From the outside, it looks like success. Internally, something strange happens. Ambition dulls, curiosity fades, the ceiling lowers quietly. Stability becomes a warm cage. Machiavelli warned rulers about this exact phenomenon. He said that men who grow accustomed to security lose their appetite for expansion. They begin to confuse preservation with victory, and once that confusion sets in, they become governable, because they no longer move forward, they only protect what they have. Level 2 does not reward boldness, it rewards organization. You are not building empires here. You are building structure, habits, boundaries, discipline. You are learning how not to bleed money through impulsive behavior, borrowed desires, and emotional spending. You are not multiplying yet, but you are retaining, and retention is power's first cousin. Here is a paradox few talk about. A man in survival can earn $3,000 a month and still feel like he's drowning. Another can earn $1,200 and feel calm, controlled, and confident. The difference is not income, it is internal order. The man in survival believes he needs more. The man in stability understands he needs clarity. This is the first great liberation from fear. You stop waiting for miracles. You stop depending on luck. You stop hoping someone notices your effort. You begin to rely on your criteria, and something subtle but explosive happens here. You discover your real cost, not what the market pays you, but what you are worth internally, because urgency is gone. There is no invisible gun to your head anymore. You can pause, you can reject bad deals, you can ask a question that terrifies the system. Am I selling my time below its real value? That question has destroyed more old lives than any financial crisis, because once you ask it honestly, you cannot unsee the answer. Many realize their poverty was never economic, it was emotional. They needed too much, they conceded too fast, they accepted too little. Stability exposes this, and exposure breaks illusions. This level is not about money, it is about emotional regulation. You learn to observe instead of react, to analyze instead of panic, to calculate instead of chase. You stop collapsing when something unexpected happens. A bill, a slow month, a setback. Because you now understand. It was never the absence of money that terrified you. It was the absence of internal structure. Stability is discipline made visible, and without discipline, nothing higher is accessible. But here is the danger. The human brain loves safety. After months or years of tension, it whispers, "Stay here. This is enough. You're fine now." That whisper is lethal. Comfort anesthetizes more effectively than pain. Many men die economically at this level. Not broke, not desperate, just numb. Their ambition decay. Quietly, their internal force weakens. Machiavelli wrote that men who prefer security over risk will never rule. They will only be ruled. Stability becomes a ceiling when it is built from fear instead of intention. So ask yourself honestly, are you organizing your life to grow, or just so you don't fall? The man who stays wants safety. The man who ascends wants power. This level is not a destination. It is a platform, a launch pad. The transition to the next level begins when stability produces surplus, not just money left over, but margin, space, room to maneuver. Margin separates those who react from those who decide. With it, you can reject offers, test ideas, invest, negotiate. You begin to act like someone with options, not someone begging for them. This is where distance from the masses begins. While others fight to survive the month, you have achieved something rare, the ability to say no calmly. And Machiavelli was clear on this. He who can refuse holds the advantage over he who must accept. But surplus alone is not enough. Without vision, it evaporates. Stability taught you order. The next level demands direction. And that shift is where most people hesitate, because it requires abandoning the identity of the stable survivor and stepping into something far more demanding. Before we cross that line, pause. If you recognize yourself in this level, comment 2 words that describe your relationship with comfort right now. Just 2 words. The next step will test whether you are willing to use stability as a weapon or let it become your prison. The third level begins quietly, no applause, no dramatic change in lifestyle. Level 3, strategic surplus, vision, and the birth of the strategist. From the outside, almost nothing looks different. Internally, everything has shifted. This is the point where surplus stops being accidental and becomes intentional. where money is no longer just what remains after expenses, but something you direct. This is where real separation begins. Most people believe freedom starts when they earn more. That is false. Freedom starts when you gain margin to maneuver, to breathe, to think, to refuse. In the first two levels, life happens to you. In the third, you begin to happen to life. You are no longer reacting, you are deciding. That is why this level feels dangerous. Because for the first time, you can no longer hide behind circumstances. You cannot blame the system, the economy, your boss, your past. You have surplus, you have clarity, and now responsibility arrives. Machiavelli understood this transition deeply. He warned that the most difficult moment for a man is not when he is weak, but when he realizes he is no longer powerless, because power demands choice, and choice exposes character. At this level, surplus becomes capital with intention. You no longer save because you are afraid, you save to act. You no longer hoard money to calm anxiety. You accumulate it to move pieces. Every dollar begins to have a role, a function, a purpose. Your bank account stops being a passive record and becomes a map of your discipline. I've seen this transformation clearly among quiet operators, early founders in US tech and logistics, who never made headlines, not unicorn builders, strategists. One example, a former operations manager in Ohio who left corporate work with modest savings. Instead of inflating his lifestyle, he structured his costs brutally low and used surplus to acquire small, unglamorous cash flow businesses, laundromats, storage units, boring assets. Within 5 years, he had more control than executives earning 5 times his salary. Not because he worked harder, but because he thought longer. That is the strategist's mindset. The worker thinks in months, the strategist thinks in years. The worker protects stability, the strategist uses it as leverage. This level demands a painful internal renunciation. You must abandon the identity of employee, even if you still have a job. This is not about occupation, it is about orientation. The worker asks, "How much will I earn this month?" The strategist asks, "What position will this decision put me in 5 years from now?" Money stops being the goal and becomes an instrument. And when that happens, ambition enters the room. Not blind ambition, conscious ambition. The awareness that you could go further, and that not going further would be a betrayal of your capacity. This emotion is dangerous because it removes excuses. Once you see that your limits were inherited narratives, not natural laws, you cannot unsee it. Many retreat here, not because they fail, but because success demands a new self, and leaving an old self behind feels like loss. At level 3, discipline becomes surgical. You no longer make decisions to feel good today, you make decisions to be unshakable tomorrow. Impulse spending becomes intolerable. Emotional purchases feel embarrassing. Investments without analysis feel reckless. You begin asking questions most people avoid. What is the real return here? What is the downside? What is the opportunity cost? What version of myself does this choice require? And you start to notice something unsettling. Most people treat money emotionally. They spend to feel, they invest to hope, they save without purpose. And because of that, they never leave level 2. You cannot live like that anymore. Not after reaching this point. This is where Machiavelli's coldness becomes essential. Not cruelty, distance, mental distance. The ability to evaluate without flinching, to delay gratification without resentment, to say no without explanation. He wrote that the prince must learn how not to be good, when goodness leads to weakness. In economic terms, this means learning how not to be impulsive, when impulse leads to fragility. Surplus without direction evaporates, ambition without a plan disperses. This level forces a question that survival and stability never required. Where am I actually going? The survivor never asks it. The stable man avoids it. You can no longer ignore it, because now your decisions compound. You are no longer living in the month. You are living on a path. Here, the economy reveals its true nature. It is not just a market. It is a field of influence. Your money shapes your time, your options, your leverage, your independence. You begin to understand why strategy is never taught to the masses, why hard work is praised, but positioning is hidden, because a man who controls his surplus controls his life, and a man who controls his life does not need permission. This awareness isolates you. You start seeing others clearly, those who act from need, those who act from comfort, and a few, very few, who are beginning to act from strategy. You no longer fear failure. You feel curiosity for advantage. But this level is a border, a dangerous one. You are not rich. You are not safe. You are armed with direction. And the next level will decide whether you remain a strategist or become something far more rare. You are not poor. You are not unstable. You are not complete. You are standing between comfort and power. And most people retreat right here, not because they cannot advance, but because advancement demands calculated risk. To move forward, surplus must be put into motion. Level 3 taught you how to handle surplus. Level 4 demands that you multiply it. And that leap is not financial. It is psychological. It requires tolerating uncertainty, trusting judgment over safety, letting go of the illusion of control. Those who stay say, better keep it safe. Now is not the time. Logical, reasonable, and fatal, because power does not grow in safe terrain. It grows where decisions are made with advantage, not fear. Before we cross into the next level, pause, ask yourself one question. Are you using your surplus to protect comfort or to build control? Comment one word that reflects your current approach to surplus, just one word. The answer will tell you whether you are preparing to advance or quietly settling. Levels 4 to 6, expansion, influence, sovereignty, and legacy. The fourth level begins the moment you accept a truth. Most people resist until it is too late. Money that does not move dies. It may die slowly, eaten by inflation silently, eroded by indecision or violently, destroyed by fear at the wrong moment. But it dies all the same. At this level, you are no longer a guardian of money. You become a commander of capital. This is where the board changes. Up until now, money was something you managed. In level 4, money becomes something you deploy. You stop thinking like someone who saves. You start thinking like someone who positions. Growth no longer comes from protection. It comes from placement, from understanding where resources generate asymmetrical return. This is why level 4 feels unstable. To those who have not prepared internally, level 3 gave you control over yourself. Level 4 demands control over external forces, and external forces never obey emotion. They obey structure. Look at how real operators move in this phase. Not influencers, not headline chasers. Real builders. Consider Ray Dalio before public recognition. In the early years of Bridgewater, he nearly lost everything. Instead of retreating into safety, he redesigned his decision-making system, radical transparency, brutal analysis, feedback loops. His wealth did not grow because he guessed right. It grew because he built a machine that learned faster than others. That is level 4 thinking. At this level, investment is no longer a bet. It is a calculated maneuver. You evaluate not just return, but control, time horizon, optionality, resilience, liquidity. You ask questions most people never ask. If this fails, what do I lose? If it succeeds, what does it unlock? Does this decision expand my influence or merely my comfort? Here is where many fall. Ego, the illusion that reaching this level means arrival. They relax discipline, trust the wrong people, spend without analysis, confuse momentum with mastery. Machiavelli warned that power is most vulnerable at the moment it feels secure. Level 4 demands strategic humility, not weakness, awareness, the humility of knowing the game is not over. As your capital moves, something new appears, time. For the first time, money works while you are not present. That terrifies the average mind. because it breaks the deepest conditioning of all. That time equals income. In the lower levels, time is currency. In level 3, surplus is currency. In level 4, systems are currency. This is where influence begins to matter more than income. And that transition opens the door to the 5th level, level 5, influence. At level 5, money stops being the goal entirely. It becomes a side effect. Wealth flows not because you chase it, but because of the position you occupy. You no longer look for opportunities. Opportunities look for you. This is the realm of the invisible architect. The invisible architect does not announce. He does not perform. He does not explain. He designs structures that make outcomes inevitable. Think of early media empires in the United States. Not the faces on camera, but the owners of distribution, the men behind the networks. They were not famous. They were decisive. They shaped narratives without appearing in them. That is 5th level power. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He wrote that the highest form of authority is exercised without force, without noise, without visibility. When others act according to your design, without knowing your name, you have reached influence. Here, income is detached from effort entirely. Your time is no longer the input. Wealth grows because systems operate, relationships compound, and decisions made years ago continue producing results. But this level introduces a new enemy: ego. Fear dominated the lower levels. Ego dominates this one. Many fall because they believe they are untouchable. They stop listening, stop refining, stop questioning, and power decays the moment vigilance disappears. Machiavelli warned that rulers fall not when they lack strength, but when they mistake momentum for permanence. Those who survive this level understand something critical. Power is not a destination. It is a state that must be maintained. It requires discretion, silence, precision, the ability to advance without being seen, and wait without restlessness. Sustain this state long enough and something profound happens. Money loses its emotional charge completely, which brings us to the 6th and final level, level 6, sovereignty. At this level, money no longer excites you. It no longer intimidates you. It no longer defines you. You have seen its mechanics too clearly. You understand its fragility, its leverage, its obedience. And you understand something most never will. Money does not make the man. The man gives meaning to the money. Here, wealth becomes identity, not arrogant identity, strategic identity. You are no longer defined by what you have, but by what you can generate from any position. If everything was stripped away tomorrow, you would rebuild. Not because of luck, but because of structure, mindset, discipline, vision. History is full of such figures. Men who lost fortunes and rebuilt them. Because the real asset was never external, it was internal. The ability to see opportunity where others see chaos, to remain calm where others panic, to move while others freeze. At level 6, your time is no longer for sale. Your energy is guarded. Your environment is curated. You stop consuming what does not sharpen you. You stop surrounding yourself with people who anchor you to old versions of yourself. You no longer compete. You select. You no longer chase. You attract. This is where legacy appears. Not money as inheritance, but thinking as inheritance. Systems that function without your presence. Decisions that echo long after you are silent. Influence that does not require your name. Machiavelli believed the greatest rulers were those whose order outlived them. That is sovereignty. And here is the final inversion. Money never made you free. Internal freedom made money obey. When you reach this level, you stop asking what level you are on. You begin asking what level the world is operating on relative to you. That is the end of the ascent. If this journey reframed how you see money, power, and yourself, comment 2 words that describe what you are building toward. And if you want to continue walking this path with men who think in systems, not illusions, subscribe and join a growing community of strategists committed to sovereignty, discipline, and long-term power.